Okay, how's our sound? Good? Excellent. For those of you who do not know me, which I guess there's only one, but that's okay. Where one or more are gathered. My name is Rosie Potestio. I am an interfaith spiritual director and also one of the prayer chaplains here at Unity. And it is a blessing that I am allowed to speak once a month. There are some sacred writings that just call to me to explore them, to look beyond the obvious to deeper meanings and understandings. And the biblical story of the two sisters, Mary and Martha, as it is found in the New Testament Gospel of Luke, is one such scripture. Now note, this Mary is not Mary of Magdala, and yes, there are many Marys in the New Testament. You must keep them separate, you know. So here is the reading from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10. And it came to pass, while the disciples were journeying, Jesus entered into a village, and a woman named Martha received him into her house. And she had a sister whose name was Mary. And Mary came and sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word. But Martha was busy with many household cares, and she came to Jesus and said, "My Lord, you do not seem to care that my sister has left me to serve alone. Tell her to help me." And Jesus answered and said to her, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and troubled about many things, but one thing is more important, and Mary has chosen the good portion for herself, which shall not be taken from her." The simple explanation is that Martha was distracted by many things, and she was more concerned about providing hospitality than in listening to Jesus' teachings. The standard explanation is that Martha got it wrong. Now Mary, on the other hand, she got it right when she quietly sat at the feet of the Master, just listening. This simple explanation has never sat comfortably in my heart. I have a problem with it, and consequently, it calls me to look at it more deeply. First, though, let me tell you of an experience I had one morning in yoga class several years ago. The beginning of this early morning yoga class was always a difficult time for me. When we first sat on our mats, and before we'd even begun any of our yoga poses, the instructor said, "Let's begin with some breathing." And I would quietly sigh, "No, please, no, just breathing. Let's get on with it. The day is calling to me." But there we sat, breathing. So I would start to construct a mental list of what I had to do that day, a meeting, a lunch, and, oh yes, breathing, I'm supposed to be breathing. Okay, I can do this. And I repeatedly had to bring my focus back to my breath. Who would think that breathing could be so problematic? But at the risk of stating the obvious, that part of the early morning yoga class did not come naturally to me. Now, I absolutely adore anything having to do with the sacred, and of course, yoga is a sacred practice. I just don't like to sit still very long in the morning to do it. Anybody else with me on this? The morning is when I get my best work done, and there always seems to be so much that calls to me. This is why I have struggled with the simple explanation where Jesus praises Mary for sitting quietly in his divine presence and reprimanding Martha, who is busy serving, telling her that she was distracted by many things. So let's peel back a layer of this narrative and imagine what it looked like for women some 2,000 years ago when it was written. To set the stage, Jesus and his entourage have come for dinner. This could be 30 people, this could be 3 people, we do not know. Martha was running about the house, organizing everything, the servants, making sure that there was water to wash the dust off hands and feet, organizing the food, whatever else needed to be done. Martha was going to make sure that everything came together just the way she wanted it, because obviously Mary was no help whatsoever. Now, for some people to sit around being still and having deep thoughts, we know that there are many others behind the scenes making it possible, making sure that the space is ready, doing whatever else is needed. These busy people are making sure that the atmosphere is just right so that others can sit and have deep spiritual experiences. It always takes some busy people working behind the scenes to make these things happen. Now, I would imagine about this point, each of us is reflecting on whether we are a Mary or a Martha. Are you a Mary, sitting quietly, listening at the feet of the Master and happy to do so? Or are you a Martha, rushing around and making it all possible and happy to do so? I admit, I am a Martha. If I had been there that day, I would have been running around, cooking, cleaning, serving, being a good host. I would have been doing something because, to be honest, that's just where I'm more comfortable. I don't like to sit still for too long if there is hospitality work to be done, and I feel an almost uncontrollable urge to do it. Now, I will admit that as I get older, I don't approach this busyness with the same fervor as I did when I was younger. So I suggest we put away the simple explanation that says Martha got it wrong, that she was more interested in doing housework than in listening to Jesus. Because I feel like I know Martha, and she absolutely would have been following the conversation as she went about her work. She was probably able to juggle many things very efficiently. And as a good multitasker, Martha would have found Mary more than a little bit annoying, sitting there just listening when there was so much to do. Now, don't get me wrong. I would love to have had the opportunity to sit at the Master's feet and listen. But soon, I know, I would be up and making sure everyone was comfortable, doing whatever needed to be done. It's just what calls to me. And Martha, would have been accustomed to the disciples just sitting and listening, waiting to be fed. The disciples were devoted and interested in every sacred word, while someone else brought them food and drink. Yes, Martha was accustomed to her role in life, and that meant taking care of her family and guests. I can almost hear Martha say, "Mary, come on, Mary. Please help me. We can listen while we work." But we read in the text that Jesus said, "Martha, Martha, you are distracted by many things." And I can almost hear Martha's reply, "Distracted? Oh, please don't call me distracted. I'm making this gathering possible. Everyone but me is just sitting around listening to you talk for hours. Can't we do something already? Isn't it time for your next healing miracle? I mean, please, can't we just get on with changing the world? It saddens me to be called distracted. Me? Distracted?" But Jesus did call her distracted, and it is preserved in Scripture for us to struggle with some 2,000 years later. So what was Martha distracted by? Well, along with her work ethic, perhaps Martha was distracted by something bigger and more complicated, something so much a part of her life that she lived as the air she breathed, and she just couldn't see it, and maybe we don't see it 2,000 years later. Perhaps Martha was distracted by gender and gender roles, because they play an important part in this story. By sitting at Jesus' feet, excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. By sitting at Jesus' feet and just listening, Mary was breaking one of the primary gender rules of that culture. Women were not supposed to sit at the feet of holy men and listen. Women were supposed to be quietly serving. Men got to sit and have deep thoughts, which was not a privilege generally allowed to women. So maybe Martha was distracted, upset even by her sisters breaking the social code of the day. Mary was acting like a man, taking on male privilege that society did not and would not give her as a woman. And not only that Jesus was commending her for it. Jesus broke those strict gender rules as he made clear to all those present that day that women could be disciples. He said, Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken from her, not by her sister, not by the male disciples, not by the society that says women can only do one kind of work, and not by religions that say only men can be spiritual leaders. That will not be taken from her. Jesus was asking Martha not to condemn her sister, but to look instead at Mary's courage. In sitting and listening, Mary was courageously taking herself seriously as a spiritual student, for it must have taken tremendous bravery as a woman to sit at the Master's feet and just listen. So when I hear this story of Mary and Martha, I immediately want to defend Martha, to defend her need to get things done. The if I don't do it, it won't get done sort of thinking. But this kind of thinking implies that these two states, quiet and active, busy and passive, have no relationship to one another, which is not true. Mary, in her stillness, was not being passive. She was being strong. By sitting at the Master's feet, she was standing up for her spiritual path to any who would condemn her. In seemingly doing nothing, she was doing something very important. In sitting still to listen, she was saying, I matter, I count. And what about Martha? Martha also was being strong. She was following her inner guidance to be of service to others. In every spiritual tradition, there exists a tension between action and stillness, a tension between doing God's will and listening to God's voice, a tension between the exterior life and the interior life of spirit, a tension between doing and being. And this inner struggle is real as we strive to recognize the importance of both states, for they exist forever together, forever entwined. Now, you might be wondering where I'm going with all of this. Valid point. But in order to reinterpret the scripture, I need to take it apart, piece by piece, look at it in depth, and then put it back together again. And with this deconstruction and reconstruction, I have a new understanding. To me, I believe that Mary and Martha are not two different people, one getting it right and one getting it wrong. I believe that Mary and Martha represent the two halves of the human spirit, two parts that complement one another, two parts that when put together make up a whole. These two parts of our human spirit are the will to be and the will to do. And in our culture, unfortunately, they tend to fight with one another. This fight, this tension is not happening out there, it's happening in here with each of us. We are fighting to find balance between these two. We are striving for balance, a middle point between doing and being. And we can't have one without the other. Each is necessary and crucial to life. So we learn to embrace both Mary and Martha. We learn to embrace both being and doing in a gentle dance of balance. These two parts of the whole move within us and create a tension that propels us forward to seek equilibrium in what the Buddhists call the middle way, that recognizes the interconnectedness and interdependence of all of life. This is the yin-yang, the two sides, the two halves, each containing the seed of the other and always in motion. This is where opposites exist in harmony, always seeking, always moving, always striving for balance. We might see these as opposites, but they are really complementary forces that are interconnected. This, then, is what this passage means to me, the importance of both, doing and being, the striving to create balance in life, balance between passive and active. Neither one is wrong, neither one is right. They exist together, intricately. It is right and good for both to exist within us, and it is up to us, each individual, to strive to find their balance. Yes, I believe Mary and Martha both got it right. And we need to find the balance between the two. Namaste. Thank you.